Well, Margot, we finally get to see this Christmas special.
That's right, but we need to let them know that the following is a non-profit, fan-made version of the original radio program, The Shadow.
Of course. All sound effects have been found on YouTube and freesound.org, while voices on castingcall.club.
Please support the official release.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back to yet another exciting adventure of The Shadow. In this special episode, we would like to welcome back our original announcer. But remember, The Shadow always demonstrates forcibly to old and young alike that crime does not pay.
The Shadow, who aids the forces of law and order, is in reality Lamont Cranston, the wealthy young man about town. Years ago in the Orient, Cranston learned a strange and mysterious secret, the hypnotic power to cloud men's minds so they cannot see him. Cranston's friend and companion, the lovely Margot Lane, is the only person who knows to whom the voice of the invisible shadow belongs. Today's drama, A Gift of Murder. It is an evening in late December. A sign slowly of snow is just beginning to fall from the darkening sky as a smartly dressed young woman knocks on the heavy door on Gerald Colington Country Estate.
Miss Eva.
Surprised to see me, Baxter.
Delighted to see you, miss. And I know your brother would be overjoyed. Come in, come in. Mr. Joe was saying only last week that he had hoped to get you back from Europe just in time for the party tonight.
A party? Did you say party?
Yes, miss.
A party here?
A little gathering, in keeping in with these glum seasons.
As I remember Joe, he considers all seasons equally glum.
Ah, yes, I know, miss, but this is an honor for your Aunt Frances.
In honor of Aunt Frances? Do you mean to tell me that Joe is giving a party for Aunt Frances?
Indeed, miss.
Why? Where is he?
In the drawing room, trimming the Christmas tree.
Trimming the... Oh, this I got to see. Joe!
Eva, what a happy surprise, I can't tell you.
A Christmas tree!
Yes, I did it all myself.
Aunt Frances!
For your Aunt Frances. Is it so strange, Eva, that I want our aunt to have a lovely tree?
Yes.
Our dear old Frances is 72 years old. We may not have her with us long.
Darling, last year she was 71, which didn't precisely adolescence. All she got for Christmas was a dozen handkerchiefs and a cold in the head.
Well, this year things are somewhat different.
So I noticed. Last time I was in touch with this little family circle, you and Clyde hated Aunt Frances like death and taxes.
You may speak for our brother Clyde, but as for me, I've always adored the dear old fool.
Really?
Really. Shall I show you what I have for her?
Oh?
An antique music box. The sort of thing she loves, and in solid gold. Isn't it charming? Listen. God rest ye, merry gentlemen.
Expensive item, I say.
I paid $500 for it, but nothing's too good for dear old Aunt Frances.
Isn't it possible it is that Aunt Frances has come into money?
Well, that is...
She has.
Well, the truth is that an old admirer of hers, Mr. Unclove Frasier, remembered her in his will. She's inheriting $1 million.
Oh, and when did you hear about this?
Only yesterday. A Mr. Elcott, attorney, member of the fellow Elcott in Duveen in Boston, brought us the news.
Now I see it all. The tree, the presents, the party. You're competing with Clyde for Aunt Frances' affection.
I am only trying to brighten the end of her life.
You're only trying to become chief beneficiary of her will.
Nonsense. I'm quite sure I'll be a beneficiary, as you will, Eva. Though I doubt that Clyde will benefit very much, if at all.
Why not?
I'll tell you why not. Amusing, really. Quite amusing. The day before yesterday, before Mr. Elcott appeared, of course, Clyde was unfortunate enough to have written me a certain letter.
A letter?
A letter, my dear, suggesting we put Aunt Frances in an old women's home.
No.
Yes. I have the paper of the correspondence, keeping it carefully. And when Aunt Frances lays eyes on it, I shouldn't be surprised if she cuts Clyde out altogether.
And you're going to let her lay eyes on this, of course?
Oh, what do you think?
If Clyde know you do.
Oh my, yes. He's been on the phone for the past 2 days, begging and threatening my life by turn.
Clyde is not a man who would let him get pushed too far, Joe.
I'll risk his love. I must go upstairs and wrap the music box for Aunt Frances. If the guests arrive, you'll greet them for me, won't you?
Who's coming?
It's going to be the family, Clyde and our dear aunt, and possibly the lawyer, Mr. Elcott.
Anyone else?
Just that young couple Aunt Frances is so fond of.
Mr. Cranston and Margot Lane.
Yes, she likes them, and it's my desire to please her, you know.
You bet I know.
I'll be down in a moment. Ah. Okay, this white tissue paper seems to be fitting. And a bright red ribbon for that holiday touch. Who's there? Oh, come in. I'll be finished with this wrapping in a moment. There now. I think this makes a very charming little gift, don't you? I said, don't you? I said...
We're not too early, are we, Lamont?
Aunt Frances said 7. It's a quarter after now.
Oh, a perfect night for a holiday party.
Perfect. We'll sure make a fine special arrangement with the other man.
Good for Aunt Frances's sake.
Of course. What do you say we lend a, crowning touch with a Christmas carol before we make an entrance?
I'd be glad to give it a try.
Very good, my lady. We shall fill the night with music. Of the sort. Me, 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 me.
Me, me. God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing new dismay. What was that?
It sounds like someone has someone very much dismayed.
Lamont!
Ring the bell.
Baxter!
Miss Lane, Mr. Cranston.
What's the matter? Looks as though you saw a ghost.
Not a ghost, sir. A corpse.
Mr. Joe was murdered.
When did this happen?
Not 5 minutes ago, sir. Mr. Gerald came up here to the study to wrap this music box, and the next thing we knew, the shot was fired.
Anyone else in the house besides you, Miss Eva?
No.
Yes.
What?
Mr. Clyde was here, miss. He rang the bell just as Mr. Gerald went upstairs.
Where did he go?
He pushed me aside and followed Mr. Gerald to his study.
Oh, look at this. In the ashtray.
A cigar.
Still warm, too.
Why, that's Mr. Clyde's brand.
Clyde might have.
Yeah.
He looked angry, but when I tried to stop him, he had to see Mr. Gerald on a matter of great urgency.
What sort of matter?
Some sort of letter.
A letter?
Yes, there was a letter. Joe told me about it just before he came up the stairs. It must be somewhere in his study. Oh, in the desk. He was keeping it to hold over Clyde's head. Yes, here it is.
I'm afraid I'm a little baffled.
Oh, but it's only too simple. In this letter, Clyde suggested putting Aunt Frances in an old woman's home.
What? But Aunt Frances just inherited a fortune.
This letter was written the day before yesterday. It wasn't until the next day that Mr. Elcott appeared with news of Unclove Frasier's will.
But it's perfectly obvious what happened, isn't it? Mr. Clyde killed Mr. Gerald to get the letter back.
But if he did, why didn't he take the letter with him?
It's probably because you two came in running too quickly. And not having gotten the letter, don't you think Clyde may be still somewhere in this house, waiting his chance? If he is, I suggest Baxter to be very careful.
Well, why, sir?
Because you know too much, and he knows you do.
You mean you think he'd,
He just killed one man, didn't he?
Listen! Someone's moving about downstairs.
Clyde.
What are you going to do, Lamont?
Don't worry, darling. Who's down there? Who is it? Answer me or I'll shoot!
You wouldn't shoot a defenseless old woman, would you? And so near Christmas, too.
Aunt Frances!
Thank heavens.
Lamont, let's go down before she comes up and sees Gerald.
You go ahead, darling. I'll join you in a moment.
Hello, Aunt Frances.
Margot and Eva. Dear little Eva, when did you get back, child?
Just today, Aunt Frances. Surprised to see me?
Surprised and happy. But then all the surprises I've gotten this year have been happy ones. Which reminds me, Miss Lane, Miss Carrington, this is Mr. Elcott, of Elcott in Devine.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Charmed, Miss Lane.
You're the lawyer who broke the news about Unclove Frasier's will, aren't you?
One and the same, Miss Colington. and happy I was to bear such tidings, such as in this joyful season.
I should say, speaking of this joyful season, isn't there something in the drawing room that Aunt Frances should see, Eva?
Yes, certainly is. Now you're not to ask questions, just stand where you are.
Nice and easy.
Now then, Margot, open the door. Merry Christmas,
Christmas,
Aunt
Aunt Frances.
Frances.
For me?
All for you.
A lovely tree. Indeed, a very lovely tree.
It's so beautiful. It's really so beautiful.
Now then, my dear.
It's been so long since I had a real Christmas. I've forgotten how wonderful it can be.
Yes, one does forget how wonderful things can be. Yes, one does forget how wonderful things can be.
You rang for me, Miss Eva.
Yes, Baxter.
Merry Christmas, Baxter.
The same to you, Aunt Frances. Shall I serve the eggnog now, miss?
I can't think of a better time.
Shouldn't we wait for Gerald?
Well, I don't think so, Aunt Frances.
And Clyde? Where's Clyde?
Right here, Aunt Frances.
Clyde!
You don't think I'd miss your party, do you? Merry Christmas, Aunt Frances, and may you wear these for many, many happy years to come. For you.
For me, Clyde? Oh, pearls. A choker of perfectly matched pearls. Mr. Elcott, look.
Exquisite. Really exquisite.
You must have spent a fortune on these, Clyde, and I haven't a thing for you.
That doesn't matter, Aunt Frances.
Oh, but it does. I'm rich now, you know. And I insist that you tell me exactly what you'd like for Christmas.
I'd like you to be well and happy.
Ah, that's very sweet. But isn't there something you'd really like to have?
I think I can tell you what Clyde would really like to have, Aunt Frances.
What's that, Eva?
A letter.
Miss Eva,
What are you talking about, Eva?
A letter, Clyde. A letter you wrote Joe a day before yesterday.
I never wrote Joe a letter.
Oh, no. How peculiar. And I have it right here signed by you.
May I see that?
No, you may not.
May I see that, Eva?
No, you may not, Clyde.
May I see it now, Eva?
He's got a gun.
Clyde!
Hand it over. Come on, give it to me. Thank you.
Clyde, what's the meaning of this?
There's no time to explain just now, Aunt Frances. I must go. However, I beg you not to believe any of the poisonous lies these people may tell you about me behind my back. I want you to know that I do wish you a very merry...
Drop that gun!
Lamont!
Drop it!
Let go of me!
Drop that gun!
Let go.
Drop it! Drop it!
Me.
Pick up that gun, Baxter, and take Mr. Clyde to the study, and hold him there until the police arrive. Yes, that's right. There's been a murder and we're holding the culprit on the ground. Yes, I suggest you get here as fast as you can.
Are the police coming? Mr. Cranston?
Immediately, Mr. Elcott. I'm sorry I had to spoil your Christmas party like this, Aunt Frances.
Oh, Lamont, my dear, you had no choice.
Aunt Frances?
Yes, my dear.
We found this upstairs. A little remembrance that Gerald brought for you.
A music box.
And a very lovely one. Listen.
Oh, how charming. And look, it's gold.
A proper gift for a golden-haired lady.
What did you say, Mr. Elcott?
I said... Mr. Cranston! Mr. Cranston!
Lamont!
That came from the back of the house.
Clyde!
He's killed Baxter. Come on, Margot. Baxter! Baxter!
Baxter!
I'm all right, Miss Lane. Although I can't say as much for my prisoner.
Clyde.
He tried to escape, sir, so I was forced to shoot.
Tried to escape? How could he even try to escape with you standing over him with a gun?
I don't know, sir, but he did. And since just the two of us were all alone in here, I'm afraid, Mr. Cranston, you'll just have to take my word for it.
When Margot and Lamont heard the shot from the rear of the Colington mansion, they found Baxter standing over Clyde Colington, a smoking revolver in his hand. A few moments later, in the massive entrance foyer...
He killed Clyde deliberately, Lamont. I'm sure Baxter shot him in cold blood.
Well, I don't agree with you, Margot.
Then why?
Possibly because Clyde had an alibi. An alibi Baxter didn't want him to use.
You mean...
Clyde may have not come to this house at all early in the evening.
Not even to get the letter?
He wasn't the only person who might be interested in getting that letter, Margot.
No?
No. Baxter could have used it nicely to hold over Clyde's head as long as Aunt Frances lived, greeting him with a nice sum in the
I
process.
see what you mean. Then it may have been Baxter who killed Gerald, too.
I don't know, it's only a theory. Theories work a visit from the shadow.
God rest ye merry gentlemen. What was that? Who's that laughing? Who's in this pantry?
It is I, Baxter.
Who spoke? There's no one here.
Yes, there is, Baxter. The shadow's here.
The shadow?
Standing right at your elbow. You can't see me, but I'm here. Here to see that justice is done, Baxter.
What's happening to me? My mind is
I
slipping.
want the truth, Baxter.
Go away, go away.
Not until you tell me why you killed Gerald Colington.
Leave me alone, please, please. I didn't kill Mr. Gerald.
You can't lie your way out of murder.
I didn't kill him. That's not what I lied about.
What have you lied about?
Nothing.
The truth.
I lied about him. About the man coming in before Mr. Gerald was killed.
Yes?
It wasn't Mr. Clyde.
No? Then who was he?
Will you let me alone if I tell you?
Yes.
All right, then. It was...
Lamont, is Baxter going to be all right?
Yes, the bullet grazed his skull. He's unconscious, but he'll live. I left him in the library.
This case is getting more confusing every minute.
Yes, isn't it?
Like Mr. Alcott, for instance. I don't understand his position in this little mystery at all.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, remember when he said I gave Aunt Frances the golden music box?
Yes. He said a proper gift for a golden-haired lady.
Exactly! How did he know Aunt Frances had golden hair? It has been Snow White for the past 20 years.
Interesting question.
And very confusing. It's all very confusing.
Margot?
Yes?
Whose overcoat is this? Hanging in the hall tree.
Well, I don't know. If it's not yours, then it must be Mr. Alcott's.
Alcott?
Why?
I just saw this sticking out of the pocket.
Clyde's letter? Well, what's it doing in his overcoat?
Must have grabbed it in the confusion. You know, it's possible that our dignified old friend also saw the value in holding over Clyde's head.
Of course. After all, what would we really know about this?
Not much.
Of
We're
course.
going to find out.
After all, what would we really know about this?
Operator.
I want to make a long-distance call to Boston, Massachusetts.
To what number, please?
Oh, I don't know the number. It's a law firm of Elcott and Duveen.
Yes, sir. I'll place a call and ring you back.
And make it fast, please.
Yes, sir.
Lamont, do you really think...
Plan has come to stop thinking, Margot. We're on the verge of the kind of discovery that cracks the case wide open.
Yes.
Look, I want you to go into the drawing room. Elcott will be in there.
Yes?
I'll tell you what I want you to do. When you get in...
Come in, Miss Lane.
Where's Aunt Frances?
Lying down upstairs. She's had more excitement than she can very well stand.
Sit down, Miss Lane.
Thank you.
Miss Eva and I were just saying that this case is becoming quite perplexing.
It is indeed. This attack on Baxter is the most puzzling thing of all. Now that Clyde is dead, who could have done it?
I don't know, but there's certainly no doubt that Clyde's guilty of Gerald's murder. Baxter saw him run up to Gerald's study just before Gerald was killed.
I'm afraid that's not true, Mr. Alcott. Baxter admitted he was lying about that just before he was wounded.
Is that so? But there's that cigar. The one that Miss Eva saw in the ashtray. Didn't that belong to Clyde?
Yes, Mr. Alcott, it did. It even had his initials on the band. Do you really think Clyde was foolish enough to leave a piece of evidence like that behind, Mr. Alcott?
What? What are you suggesting, Miss Lane?
I'm suggesting that with Clyde now out of the way, the margin of guilt is now down pretty closely, Mr. Alcott.
To me, Miss Lane?
Yes.
But I've been with Aunt Frances all afternoon. I was with her at the moment when Mr. Gerald was murdered.
Can you prove that?
Of course I can. Aunt Frances is right upstairs. You have my permission to ask her.
Then it wasn't you?
Obviously not. And obviously, Miss Lane. You can draw the logical conclusion.
Yes, I'm afraid I can.
Before you do, put up your hands.
Ava!
Put that gun away!
I'm sorry, Mr. Elcott. I'm really quite sorry you two aren't members of this greedy little family and to stumble on the truth.
Do you think you can get away with this?
I can try.
There's a very slim chance you succeed.
For $1 million, I'll take a very slim chance.
The telephone.
Sit right where you are. I'll answer it. Hello.
Someone has just put in a call to the law firm in Boston, Massachusetts.
Yes.
We checked carefully, miss, but there's no such firm listed.
What?
There's no firm of Elcott in Devine.
What's the matter?
Who are you, Elcott?
I'm almost sorry for you, Miss Eva.
There is no firm of Elcott and Devine.
I know. And there's no $1 million.
What? But you came here about Unclove Frasier's will.
And Unclove Frasier never made a will. In fact, Unclove Frasier isn't even dead. Although just at this moment, he almost wishes he were.
Then you.
Yes, I'm Frasier.
Oh, I think I begin to see.
I fell in love with Aunt Frances years ago, when she was as young as you are tonight, Miss Lane. And I never fell out of love with her.
Why did you have to pretend to us that she was inheriting $1 million? Why?
Because I knew how dismal you and Clyde and Gerald had treated her. I had no money to help her with myself. And then the idea came to me. I can make it appear that she had become an heiress, and depend upon your greed and deceit to provide her with at least one really Merry Christmas.
A very sweet idea, but
a very dismal failure, I'm afraid.
I'm afraid so, too. I'm afraid there'll still have to be 2 more murders before the party's over.
Eva!
There may not be $1 million, but I still have my life to think of.
Don't you realize the police are on their way?
But they're not here yet. And I have a gun and the door is still open.
What was that?
Who closed the door?
I did, Eva. The door is no longer open.
What? Who are you?
I am the Shadow.
What are you doing here?
I have come to accuse Eva Colington of the murder of her brother Gerald.
It's a lie! A lie! You can't prove it!
I can prove you contrite your neat little plot against Gerald and convince the world that Clyde had murdered him for an incriminating letter.
No!
You took Baxter on part of your plan, promising him a part of $1 million you hoped to get. That is why Baxter killed Clyde when he realized he can easily alibi his way out of the charge.
How do you know all of this?
The Shadow knows, and I confronted Baxter, who was about to get the truth out of him, until it was you who shot him to save your own skin.
And I still have a skin to save. Either you open that door or I'll pull this trigger.
Don't be a fool.
I warned you.
Shadow!
Drop it!
Ah!
Gun!
Let me go! Let me go!
As you please, Miss Eva.
He's throwing her out of the window.
Yes, Mr. Elcott. Straight into the arms of the police.
When we found the letter in your overcoat, I thought you were the murderer, Mr. Elcott.
I'd picked it up and hidden it, so that Aunt Frances wouldn't see it. Shh! Here she comes. Frances.
Yes?
I want you to know how sorry I am.
Why?
I have made a tragic mistake. The gift of Christmas that I tried to give you turned out to be a gift of murder.
Not really, Anslow.
But Clyde and Gerald are dead.
It was their own greed and ruthlessness that brought about their death.
And besides, the world is better off without either of them.
Much better.
Nevertheless, I'm sorry.
You shouldn't be. You've made me very rich.
But the $1 million wasn't real, Frances.
Oh, it wasn't the million that made me rich. It's your kindness and remembrance, and the love in your heart. That's real, isn't it?
Yes.
Then, Anslow.
My dear?
Must you go back now?
Frances! You mean...
I'm alone, and so are you.
My darling.
What do you know? It looks like it'll be a Merry Christmas after all.
With many more to come.
You have been listening to a dramatized version of the many copyrighted stories which appeared in the Shadow magazine and old radio program. All characters or places named are fictitious, and any similarities to persons living or dead are purely coincidental.